You are not lazy, you are not unmotivated, and you are definitely not broken. But right now, your brain is running a system that was never designed for your happiness. It was designed to keep you scrolling. The average Gen Z user spends around 4 to 6 hours every single day on social media. That is more time than many people spend exercising, reading, or even having real conversations during an entire week. But here is what most people don't realize. The problem is not willpower. The problem is not discipline. The problem is brain chemistry. Social media is designed in a way that slowly changes how your brain works. And when you stop using it, even for just 30 days, something incredible begins to happen inside your mind. To understand what happens when you quit social media, you first need to understand what social media has been doing to your brain. Your brain runs on a powerful neurotransmitter called dopamine. Most people think dopamine is the pleasure chemical, but that is not entirely correct. Dopamine is actually the anticipation chemical. It is released not when you receive a reward, but when your brain expects one. This is the same mechanism used by slot machines in casinos. And interestingly, it is the exact same system used by social media platforms. Every time you open Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook, your brain does not know what it will see next. Maybe a funny video, maybe a notification, maybe a like, or maybe nothing at all. That unpredictability creates what scientists call a variable reward system, one of the most powerful triggers of compulsive behavior. Every time you refresh your feed, it is like pulling a slot machine lever. Over time, this constant stimulation begins to change your brain. When your brain receives too many dopamine spikes too frequently, it protects itself by reducing the number of dopamine receptors. Scientists call this dopamine downregulation. Imagine turning the volume down on a speaker that is always too loud. The result is that normal life begins to feel less exciting. Simple activities like talking to someone, reading a book, walking outside, or listening to music start feeling dull compared to the fast and constant stimulation of social media. This is the mental state many people live in without realizing it. But the moment you stop using social media, your brain begins a process of recovery. The first 3 days are usually the hardest. During this time, many people experience something similar to withdrawal symptoms. They feel restless, bored, slightly anxious, and constantly tempted to check their phones, even when they know there is nothing new to see. This happens because your brain has become used to receiving dopamine hits every few minutes. When those hits suddenly disappear, the brain sends signals telling you that something is missing. This creates a strange sense of discomfort and restlessness. But this feeling is not weakness. It is simply your brain recalibrating. During these first few days, the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making, impulse control, and focus, begins waking up again after being underused for a long time. Around day 4, something interesting starts to change. One of the earliest improvements many people notice is better sleep. Social media use, especially before bedtime, has been shown to significantly disrupt sleep quality. There are two main reasons for this. The first is blue light from screens, which suppresses melatonin, the hormone that tells your body it is time to sleep. But the second reason is even more powerful. Social media constantly feeds your brain emotionally stimulating content, including excitement, anger, comparison, and drama. All of this activates the brain's amygdala, which is responsible for emotional responses and threat detection. When the amygdala remains active late at night, it becomes much harder for your brain to relax and enter deep sleep. When late-night scrolling disappears, your brain can finally calm down. By the end of the first week, many people fall asleep faster, experience deeper sleep, and wake up feeling more refreshed. Around the second week, the brain begins to repair something deeper. Your dopamine system slowly begins returning to balance. Remember how constant stimulation reduced dopamine receptors? Now, your brain gradually begins increasing them again. This means that everyday experiences start feeling more enjoyable again. Many people report that during this phase, food tastes better, music feels more emotional, and conversations become more engaging. This is not imagination. It is your brain restoring its natural reward sensitivity. Activities that once felt boring begin feeling meaningful again. By the third week, another powerful change begins to appear. Your attention span starts improving. Social media fragments your attention into tiny pieces, sometimes only 15 or 20 seconds long. Your brain jumps rapidly from one piece of content to another. Over time, this pattern weakens the brain's ability to focus deeply on a single task. But when the constant interruptions disappear, the brain begins strengthening its focus pathways again. Scientists call this process neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself based on how it is used. As these neural pathways strengthen, people often notice they can read longer without distraction, think more clearly, and work on tasks for longer periods of time. Many people also notice that conversations feel more meaningful because they are fully present instead of mentally drifting toward their phones. The final stage of the 30-day detox often brings improvements in emotional well-being. Human brains naturally compare themselves to others. This ability once helped humans survive in small communities thousands of years ago. But social media amplifies this comparison system to an extreme level. Instead of comparing yourself to a few people in your environment, you are suddenly comparing yourself to thousands of carefully curated highlight reels. Perfect vacations, perfect bodies, perfect lifestyles. But these images rarely reflect real life. They are filtered, edited, and selected moments. When your brain constantly sees these unrealistic standards, it can increase feelings of anxiety, loneliness, and self-doubt. But when that constant comparison disappears for several weeks, your brain begins to relax. Many people notice that their baseline anxiety becomes lower and their mood becomes more stable. By day 30, the neurological picture looks very different from where you started. Your dopamine system becomes more balanced, your sleep improves, your focus becomes stronger, your anxiety decreases, your brain begins functioning closer to the way it was originally designed to work. But the interesting thing is that most people do not quit social media forever, and that is completely fine. Research shows that the real difference is how people return. Those who return with boundaries, checking social media only once or twice a day, often keep many of the mental benefits they gain. But those who return to endless scrolling often fall back into the same patterns within a few weeks. The true value of a 30-day social media detox is not deleting social media forever. It is giving your brain a chance to remember what normal feels like. Your brain was never built for infinite scrolling, constant notifications, and endless comparison. It was built for deep thinking, real conversations, and meaningful experiences. Sometimes the most powerful reset your brain can get is simply a little bit of silence. So here is a simple question. If your brain could reset in just 30 days, would you try it?